With 3 games remaining, 3 divisional opponents, Denver enters this last stretch with its playoff hopes clinging to life. And the Raiders on deck. We'll look at how Drew Lock's first start of 2021 might change this Broncos offense, why this defense might find itself in a good spot against the Raiders' passing game, and some orange and blue rookies in line to possibly bring home some postseason honors. Welcome into Broncos Weekend, everybody. I'm Matt Boyer alongside Alexis Perry and the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater. Guys, Bradley Chubb said it on Sunday. The margin for error this week, it's essentially 0. The Broncos' playoff chances are slim, depending on which statistics website you look at. They're all pretty slim, but they got to get some help from other teams losing as well as win these last 3 games. And if they're going to reach those goals, it's going to be Drew Lock likely leading the way as we take a look at this week's quarterback matchup. Drew Lock against Derek Carr. AP, Lock's numbers, they haven't been great, and he's been candid about that. It's been a rocky transition from being a starter to now a backup.
Right.
But this week, he's getting starters reps at practice. So how different do you think that offensive output is going to be with Lock leading the way?
Well, I think simply because of who Drew Lock is, this offense has the potential to look quite a bit different. Last week, Lock was asked to come in and execute a game plan that was built around Teddy Bridgewater's strengths. This week, the game plan will be built around him, and he'll meet with Pat Shurmur to discuss what he's most comfortable with running after getting those starter reps throughout the week. Now, like we saw on Sunday against the Bengals, Drew made some really impressive throws and was on the verge of making even bigger plays, but the timing just wasn't quite there yet with his receivers. So given the fact that this week in practice he's been able to work on that chemistry and work on that timing, I'd expect a few more explosive plays to guys like Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy. And if for some reason things aren't clicking with those guys, he always has his built-in security blanket, his former teammate from Mizzou, and Albert Okwuegbunam. But we all know that Drew Lock, he has the talent to get this team on the scoreboard early and often. However, his decision-making will be key this week. He needs to play a mistake-free game. And I think we can expect this offense to be a little bit more balanced with Drew Lock under center, but I wouldn't expect Pat Shurmur to stray too far away from what he's comfortable with, his security blanket, in the Broncos run game.
Lock's numbers last year against the Raiders on the road, one of his worst games last year, so probably looking for a little bit of a redemption once he goes back to Vegas.
Nice.
Yeah. Steve, last game, Carr's had his highest passer rating this year against the Broncos, but he doesn't have many of the same weapons in that game as he does currently, so that film might not be worth a lot. What do you think, or what's your expectation for how aggressive Carr will be in the passing game here this week?
Well, I still think they're going to come out and try to pass the ball. Derek Carr, I think, is still a very good quarterback. Right now, he's number 2 in the NFL in terms of passing yards, only behind Tom Brady. He doesn't have the same weapons, but the guys are adequate enough. The tight end position, Foster Moreau, he's still playing well. He's not the down-the-field guy like Darren Waller was, but he has really good hands, and I think Derek Carr has a lot of confidence in him. A couple of interesting stats, though. The Raiders pass 1.7 times for each time that they run the ball.
That's a lot.
And compared to the Broncos, we pass 1.2 times compared to every one time we run the ball. So I'm not looking for them to change that. He'll be passing the ball, putting it up just like normal.
This season, Steve, the Raiders 1-7 when Carr throws for under 300 yards. Clearly they want to throw, but when they play the Broncos, especially the game in Vegas last year, they prove they can run the ball with Josh Jacobs as we look at this week's running back matchup, Josh Jacobs and Javonte Williams. AP, Williams now over 1,100 yards from scrimmage for the season, and the Raiders are in the bottom 10 in the league against the run. So it also happens to be playoff time for a lot of folks in fantasy football. Do you see a big game for the rookie this week?
Oh, you better believe we're going to see a heavy dose of Javonte Williams against the Raiders. Pat Shurmur is going to do everything he can to keep that Las Vegas defense honest against Drew Lock. And that's a great thing for fantasy owners who have Melvin Gordon or Javonte Williams, because aside from trying to keep a balanced attack, I think one of the keys to this game is going to be time of possession. Remember, the Raiders are coming off a short week after COVID protocol pushed their game to Monday. So what's the best way to wear out a defense that didn't get enough time to rest and recover? We all know that's a physical, relentless running game. Keep that defense on the field until they are absolutely shattered. And the best way to do that is to hand it off to the physical young running back who has the most missed tackles forced in the league this season, of course, Javonte Williams. And for some reason, if you haven't been starting Javonte Williams this season, this is the week to do it, which I don't think anybody wasn't starting him, right? Right? Leave a comment. Leave a comment in the section down there, YouTube watchers.
Right.
Steve, speaking of physical runners, Josh Jacobs, every time this guy plays the Broncos, he seems to have a good game. Statistically speaking, it's not been his best year, but Broncos run defense, solid last week, has to feel good. So how should they feel about defending Jacobs this week?
I think we should feel pretty good about it right now. We're ranked number 11 in terms of rush yards given up, and we've only given up 106.6 yards per game, which I think is very good. Another factor in that is the Raiders aren't running the ball nearly as much as they used to run the ball. Right now, they're only rushing only 22.4 times per game. In comparison to us, we're rushing it 27.4 times per game. And also, the Raiders are only rushed for 100 yards 4 times this year total. Wow. Where the Broncos, we're at 10 games where we've rushed for 100 or more yards. And Josh Jacobs, not having the same year that he has the last 2 years. First couple of years, he's rushed for over 1,000 yards. This year, he's only just over 500 yards rushing. So I don't think he's as much of a threat this year as he's been in the past.
Vic Fangio said he was proud of the way the defense played last week against Joe Mixon, only 58 yards rushing, so hopefully they could replicate that performance. A big reason why, though, was because of the rookie Baron Browning last week. As we take a look at the defensive matchup this week, Baron Browning and Max Crosby. AP Browning looks like he is playing faster, especially in the last game he had a team-high 10 tackles. How much of a leap forward do you feel like he's taken this season?
You know, there's a point in every season where a rookie is just no longer a rookie, and I think Baron Browning is officially at that point. He's progressed leaps and bounds this season. Because of the injuries suffered at the inside linebacker position, he has gotten so much more experience than he would have gotten otherwise. But I don't think we can forget that he probably could have been a starter for this Broncos team out of training camp this year. You know, guys drafted out of Ohio State usually have the talent to start right away, but it's all about combining that talent with the mental side and the speed of the NFL. Not only was Baron Browning making tackles left and right last week, I saw a few plays that were like veteran Pro Bowler-esque. George Paton knew that he was going to be a great sideline-to-sideline linebacker, and he is proving that week in and week out. So I think it's safe to say his future is extremely bright here with the Denver Broncos.
I agree with you there.
Steve, in thinking about all the great defensive players in this Raiders-Broncos rivalry, okay, you've put your mark on that rivalry. Max Crosby has also put his mark on this rivalry as of late. This year, 3 sacks in their previous meeting, and he's officially a Pro Bowler. With a guy playing with this much confidence on the edge, what's the best way for the Broncos to throw a guy like that off his game?
Yeah, I mean, he's a big guy, 6'5", 255 pounds. That's about the size of Bradley Chubb. You know, Chubb's a big guy on the edge there, really mobile. And Max Crosby is in that same mold there. He'll be going up against Bobby Massey a majority of the time. So it's going to be a tough matchup for him, but I think we're going to have to chip him sometimes. Had to keep the tight end on that side. But the tight end can't let him get outside of him, slap his arms down and get him off of him. He's got to stay on him and keep him in between him and the tackle. And I think we'll be able to contain him some there. But it should be a good matchup. I'm looking forward to see how we do against him.
Crosby has not registered a sack since he played the Broncos, but the space he's able to occupy in an offensive coordinator's mind week to week is valuable enough. We've got to take a quick break, but when we come back on Broncos Weekend, the Broncos will make just their second visit to Las Vegas this week, but there have been some battles on the road in Oakland and LA that have been pretty memorable. We'll look back at the biggest road clashes against the Silver and Black. That's next.
Denver's history in Las Vegas is only 1 game long, but their record on the road with the Raiders dates back to the 1960s. In 1962, the Broncos scored their first win against the Silver and Black in hostile territory. That day, Ring of Famer Gene Mingo kicked 3 field goals and rushed for 34 yards, plus a touchdown as Denver took care of business 23-6. While the bitter feud between these two teams has always existed, the rivalry rose to new levels in the mid-90s with the arrival of Mike Shanahan.
What's the name of that team we play next week? The Raiders!
In the 95 and 96 seasons, John Elway led fourth-quarter comebacks each time he set foot in the Coliseum. In 1995, a late touchdown toss to Ed McCaffrey, a diving two-point conversion to tie the game, and a Jason Elam field goal led to the Raiders' demise as Denver flew home with a 31-28 win. And in 1996, the unshakable Elway found Rod Smith for an incredible 49-yard bomb to give the Broncos a 1-point edge in a 22-21 victory. Denver has also seen its fair share of historical high marks in the black hole. During Week 17 of the 2013 season, Peyton Manning set the NFL's single-season passing record against the Raiders with 5,477 yards for the year thanks to this Demaryius Thomas touchdown as the Broncos won easily 34-14.
Thomas at the 1 and steps into the end zone. Touchdown, Denver.
If Denver can win on Sunday, it would be the first road win against the Raiders since their Super Bowl season of 2015. A trio of Brandon McManus field goals paced to the Broncos, and a Chris Harris Jr. 74-yard pick six sealed a defensive battle as Denver held off their rivals by a final score of 16-10.
Chris Harris Jr. in the foot race. He's going to take it the distance. Touchdown, Denver. Chris Harris Jr., 70 yards.
Few better sights than seeing a pick six going straight back into the black hole for the win. Welcome back into Broncos Weekend, everybody. Steve, you didn't like the Raiders very much, did you?
No, and I still don't.
That's fair enough, fair enough. No love lost between these two teams, okay? How did that intensity level change, though, when it went from regular season week to Raiders week? How much hostility was there in that environment when you guys would go to Oakland or LA?
You know what? Early on in my career, we did make a big distinction for Raider Week, and it was kind of up and down. Whether we win, whether we lose, and then in our later years, it seems like we just treated them just like any other opponent. We didn't say this game is more important than the other one. We just knew we had to go out there and take care of business, and we were a little bit more successful then. So I like that attitude of, just keep treating every team the same, whether they're good, whether they're bad, looking at them like we're going to go in here and dominate regardless.
Steve, these last few weeks, this rookies class for the Broncos, this 2021 rookie class, is going to be looking to dominate. And this week, The Athletic's Dane Brugler released his NFL All-Rookie team at the 3/4 mark, and he's got on there right now as first-teamers Pat Surtain and Javonte Williams. Right. Now, what do you think about those two, first of all, being on the team? And is there anybody else out of this 2021 rookie class for the Broncos that you think deserves consideration?
Yeah, Pat Surtain, 4 interceptions, great blanket man-to-man coverage on guys, picked up the offense so fast. I think he's definitely deserving. And Javonte Williams, just his explosiveness. We saw it when he was in college at North Carolina, and then him coming into the league, he didn't miss a step. Just picked right back where he left off at in college. But a couple other guys that I really like their play, and I think they would deserve to be on this team. One, Baron Browning. He's a physical guy. He got started a little bit late. Some competition there, but the opportunity, because of some injuries, he was able to show what he can do. And also in that offensive line, man, Quinn Miners, I just love his game. I love how he plays through the whistle. He's blocking guys, getting body on body. This is the type of football that I'm used to seeing and that I really love. So if I'd add 2 guys, that would be the 2 guys that I would add. 2
very worthy nominations right there, and 2 guys that have a chance to make that team here in the next couple of weeks as we close the 2021 season out. We've got to take a quick break, but when we come back on Broncos Weekend, what type of wrinkles might this Broncos offense utilize with Drew Lock in the lineup in Las Vegas? Alexis is going to get some answers from Denver 7's Broncos Insider Troy Renck after the break. Welcome back to Broncos Weekend, everybody. Can Drew Lock put together a complete performance against the Raiders in Las Vegas this week? And what does this Raiders game tell us about the Broncos 2021 season as a whole? Well, to get those answers and more, Alexis Perry is chatting with Denver 7's Broncos Insider Troy Renck.
Thanks so much, Matt. Like you mentioned here with Troy Renck. Coach Fangio announced on Wednesday that Drew Lock will be the starter in Las Vegas this Sunday. Obviously, we saw him in the game Sunday against the Bengals. There were some flashes of greatness and also some really bleak moments as well. So what are some of the things that you want to see him build off of, and what are some things that he needs to avoid?
Well, it starts with him taking care of the ball, Alexis, because you're right. He has great athleticism. He has the ability to color outside the lines, but they're trying right now to win low-scoring games. So first thing is, take care of the ball. But take some chances with him. We saw that with the Tim Patrick play where he underthrew it but gave him an opportunity to make a play. So what I want to see is don't try to play hero ball. Just do your job. Don't try to do too much. That's when it seems like he gets into a little bit of trouble.
Right. You mentioned his ability, and we all know Drew Lock with the big arm. He loves to look deep downfield. But do you think Pat Shurmur is going to game plan around that ability this week, or do you think he's going to stick with what's been working for this team, and that's the two-headed monster in Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams?
Well, they are a running team at heart. That's who they are. They have a physical identity. But remember back to training camp, Alexis, when Drew called himself the calculated gunslinger? Those are the passes they need to look for. So when you're throwing a deep ball to the sideline, you do a back shoulder throw or you underthrow it, or so that case it's either going to be like a touchdown, big game, or incompletion. Don't look for him to throw a bunch of balls down the middle of the field into coverage. That's not going to behoove them the way they run their offense. But I do think we're going to see more vertical passes. They need to get Jerry Jeudy involved in that way as well.
Well, in terms of the Raiders offense, things will look a little bit different this time around in comparison to their first meeting. Obviously some injuries to some key guys there for Derek Carr, but he is always a threat. So what's the key for this Denver defense to contain Derek Carr in this Raiders offense this week?
Well, you need to make them one-dimensional. The Raiders can run the football, and you saw that against Cleveland. They're prepared to win ugly, almost like the Broncos are prepared to win ugly. So force them into 3rd and long and make them do things that they're uncomfortable with, especially if Darren Waller doesn't play. He has given everyone fits, including the Broncos. So with him out, I expect Vic Fangio's defense to really kind of suffocate them, take the run away first, not unlike they did with the Bengals. The defense, frankly, played well enough to win that game. I could see a similar game plan against Derek Carr.
Well, I know you will be in Las Vegas this weekend, so what are some key matchups that you'll be keeping an eye out on?
Well, they've got to contain Hunter Renfrow. He didn't do much in their past game, but this last game, but he has become like their Wes Welker, their Julian Edelman. He is their guy, and he's really good, and he runs amazing routes. So don't let him beat you, especially on 3rd down. So you've got to contain him, whether that's with Bryce Callahan, even Pat Surtain.
Yeah.
Those are the guys you got to look for. And then up front, they got to win in the run game with Reisner and Miners. You've got to win up front. If they do pass, and they're going to pass some, you got to control Max Crosby. And that could be Garrett Bowles, that could be Bobby Massey, but don't let him change the game with a strip sack.
Well, at this point, we all know the Broncos' playoff chances are painfully low. But how critical is a win this weekend for the morale of this team, whether they are heading into the postseason or the offseason after Week 18?
Well, you want to have a winning year, so they haven't had that in 4 years. So that would be important. I know it's kind of a consolation prize, but to get to 9 wins could matter for this team. The other thing, Alexis, I would point out, the Broncos against the Chargers under Vic Fangio are 4-1.
Right.
That's a team they match well against. The Raiders, not so much. They're 1-4 and haven't beaten the Chiefs. Really, no one beats the Chiefs in the AFC West.
Yeah.
But if you can win this game on the road, the Broncos do match up well against the Chargers. So then you win that, and then it comes down to even if you win, you wouldn't be in, but you'd have like a 90% chance to get in if you play that last game after 2 wins. But that's why it's important, is there's still something to play for, and there's a chance to make a statement that you're different in the AFC West this year.
Well, Troy, thank you so much for your time. Merry Christmas to you and your family.
You as well, Essex. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be sure to catch Troy on Broncos Country Connected every Tuesday at 6:30 on Denver 7. And, of course, you guys can follow him on Twitter at Troy Renck. Matt, back to you.
Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Troy. Okay, Steve, the Broncos haven't won in Raiders territory since 2015, which I know hurts your soul. Yes. I know it hurts your soul. But the Raiders are 3-5 since playing the Broncos in Week 6, and they almost lost to a shorthanded Browns team in Cleveland last week. So how are the Broncos getting it done? It feels like this is the time. What are your keys?
I would say I got one key this weekend, and I think that it's going to be both Garrett Bowles and Bobby Massey taking care of that edge. With Max Crosby, he'll be matched up against Bobby Massey, and then Yannick Ngakoue will be on Garrett Bowles. So, man, I'm looking for that to be a good matchup. They got to be tough. They got to be physical. Keep those guys off the quarterback. We'll come away with the dub.
Key to this game for me, Steve, is Denver's passing game. The Raiders have the fewest interceptions of any team in the league with 5. And it's got to be Drew Lock's time. It's his first start since Week 17 of last year. A 1-point loss to the Raiders. It feels like this is redemption time. It feels like this is the one. The Raiders haven't been able to stop the pass. Drew Lock downfield to some of those offensive weapons. I think they can get it done. What do you think?
We got weapons galore. I want to see them get the ball, too. I like it.
There we go. All right. That'll do it for us on Broncos Weekend. Special thanks to the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater. I'm Matt Boyer. So long, Broncos country. We will see you next week.